why there is a lot of back and forth in terms of approval processes, because the needs as they were then and the needs as they are now have significantly changed. And so the realities are very different. The needs are fairly different. And so the development professionals are ahead of the regulatory framework. And so there has been that clash of purposes. But I'm glad to say that there is progress in that respect. There is, of course, that also goes with a few other policy instruments, a physical address policy. We have the, of course, broadly the development control policy. We have the land use policy for the county, also under review now. The county has not really had a proper land use policy in place, and that these are instruments that are being advanced by the NMS, working together with the county government and the county assembly. And I'm glad to say that they are actually fairly advanced. And we hope that shortly this should be concluded, and professionals and entrepreneurs and investors will then have an updated, useful regulatory basis or instruments for the purposes of driving investment in the county. The other fairly difficult area has been the system, and I think this is a perennial headache for most people. The system that was inherited by NMS has served for the period that it was there, but over time there was need to upgrade the same. Now, in the context of improving, or let me say securitizing that process, one, securitizing the applications, the documentation that is being put in by investors, by developers, by individuals, and also securitizing your own data has been a bit of a problem. And Director Mwangi would explain to you how it has been really a cat and mouse game. Nairobi, as we speak today, I think we can comfortably say more than 50% of all developments in this city are not approved. And that really gives or sets an extremely difficult context for regulation. Difficult context for regulation when you have the vast majority of our developments not approved. But then again, that is also telling, because perhaps the system is not enabling for the purposes of an individual or a business in terms of applications, processing, approvals, timeliness, and so on and so forth. And in fact, in the recent past, I think over the last couple of months or so, by and large, the system, in fact, has been down for, I would say, for the better part of the last 2 or 3 months. This is because, finally, there is now a concerted effort to improve and upgrade the system. And I'm glad to say that now that process is nearing an end. The internal officers and professionals who are involved in working the system, I think some training has already happened. The final bits of training is going on now. And so that system essentially should be running fairly soon without hitches. I'd like to say the following. What is the future, especially in the context, I think, Bwana Chairman, if you look at today's conversations around the new reality that COVID-19 has brought to the table. And the new reality is the following. One, paper is a problem. And Mr. Mwangi will tell you how many of his staffers have been infected by paper. Every so often, he has had to shut down his registry, shut down operations in the office, purely because officers are being infected by handling paper. And I think going forward, where we are, certainly reducing handling of paper is a new imperative. And so that is something which is a new reality. It means adopting digital systems is no longer an option, but really becoming mandatory. And I think I had a couple of people who are in that space of ICT, and really that is the way to go. That is the way to go. And I think for all stakeholders, small, medium, large, the digital direction is the way we're going to go. Secondly, the approval process itself. Traditionally, for those more familiar with development control approvals, are aware that there is a committee established that has stakeholders, both from the private sector and government, regulatory bodies or professional bodies in that space, working together in terms of actual approvals. Now, that process itself needs to be adapted or streamlined. And why do I say so? Even today, meetings, important meetings, domestic, regional, international, many of them today are virtual. Why? It is a new reality. But what does virtual meetings enable us to do? It enables us to save time, be more efficient in terms of who can attend, be more efficient in terms of dissemination of information, and so on and so forth. But also, that sitting or committee sitting have tended to lend themselves to a poor governance scenario. And the approach that NMS seeks to adopt is one of continuous approvals. Approvals for development should be business as usual. It should not be an event. It should not be a committee meeting that meets once every week. Approvals should be approvals, and not just a continuous event. NMS is pursuing a 24-hour process. That is to say that all stakeholders, and not just NMS working together with all the other regulatory players, or the NCA, NEMA, all the other players involved, that we all adopt a 24-hour methodology that allows a developer anywhere, anytime, to lodge a request for approval. And that approval, once lodged, is processed continuously. That is, it does not need to wait for a committee to sit. And that way, we believe, will not only save time, we'll be saving money. We have seen cases where serious and significant, I think when a chairman spoke about the value of construction to our economy nationally, but to our economy in this county. And right now, if we're to unlock the potential of construction in this city, we're talking about releasing billions of shillings into this economy of Nairobi and, of course, nationally speaking. The other thing that goes with that is the one-stop shop. A one-stop shop is bridging the silo approach to approvals. That is to say, all the relevant regulatory players, whether it is the county, NCA, NEMA, and so on and so forth, that we would have a one-stop shop so that you're not having to hop between different organizations. That all those regulators would virtually or physically be located in certain spaces across the city. And that allows the citizen of Nairobi to spend as little time as possible in terms of walking through a development control approval process. What that does when you have continuous approval is will improve on timeliness, predictability, accountability, transparency, and one can be able to monitor the process their request or application is going through. And lastly, Chairman, if I may, one other part that we need to explore is that we have got development control applications that are worth billions. But the applications that are worth 150,000 shillings, 30,000 shillings. And unfortunately, it takes just about the same amount of time to process a 30,000 shilling application and a development of 5 billion shillings. Certainly, there's something wrong with a system like that. And we believe as NMS, we must get to the place where the lower level applications should be processed through what we are calling a self-service system. Meaning, it is called regulation after application, where you are painting your gate, you are changing the light bulbs of an external fence, you are just improving your fencing around your house, you are changing those basic things that take an extremely long time to process. And the system should be developed such that those applications, you go online, you click the type of upgrade of your house or small business you have somewhere, and you simply pay immediately. And the regulator would then regulate you after the fact, not before the fact. That changes the kind of system that will be running. And we hope, going forward, that self-service methodologies can be adopted for lower level approvals. And that way, we then unlock the space for more bigger processes to consume the professionals in the room. Bwana Chairman, these are just some broad remarks in terms of where we are at today as an institution. I hope they would spur a conversation that would be advanced through the panels going forward. Like I said, this was not meant to be a speech, but just to say, in the context of where we are today, something must change in terms of how we work. And we believe that if we work together, we can find lasting solutions to improving our lot as regulators, investors. And we thank you for this invitation to the DG NMS, and by extension to other government agencies that are working with yourselves. And we hope there's some fruitful, this conversation has happened or has been going on with the private sector now, through the Private Sector Alliance, through CAM, and now through the Chamber, and we hope there's now essentially light at the end of the tunnel. And so, congratulations for hosting this meeting. We thank you very much for the invite, and we hope to see the fruits of this conversation going forward. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.